Hey, what's up guys? In this video I want to go over how I would pick out and test a potential concealed carry or defensive pistol. I want to use my Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 as an example. I've used this in other videos just because I've recently acquired this a few months back, and I've been doing a lot of testing with this to see if I actually want to replace my current carry pistol with this one, so I will use this pistol as an example. If you're possibly looking to get your first pistol or get into concealed carry, or you're looking to change out your current carry pistol, this video may be for you. When I'm looking for something I'm going to defend my life with, I look for a striker fired pistol. That's my favorite type when it comes to using for self-defense. I've owned and shot plenty of other types like double single actions from various manufacturers. I just prefer a striker fired pistol. I go after a full size. This happens to be a compact size. That's about as small as I'll go. I can easily conceal a full size, so there's not really any advantage for going smaller than a compact size. When you get to 4 inches and below, you start to lose a lot of muzzle velocity and a lot of energy. That's why I like something with at least a 4-inch barrel, if not 4.5 inches. 9mm is perfectly viable for self-defense. It's readily available, and there's plenty of different options out there. So I go after a 9mm. Larger calibers like 40, 357 SIG, and 45 aren't as viable as they used to be. If you're using modern ammunition, 9mm will work just fine when it comes to self-defense against two-legged things. I want a pistol from a reputable manufacturer. Smith & Wesson is a reputable manufacturer. The M&P 2.0 has a great track record. Understand, if you're getting a new pistol that maybe just came out, that manufacturer may be using you as a beta tester, so just know that going in. It unfortunately happens more often than it should. I want a durable pistol. Smith & Wesson is durable. My current carry pistol, the Glock, is durable. I want to know, how often does that manufacturer recommend you change out parts like recoil springs and other springs in the pistol? I know on the Glock it's every 5,000 rounds for a recoil spring if you have a Gen 4 or 5. 2,500 if you have a previous generation. Other springs it's more like 10 or 15,000 rounds depending on the spring. I also want to know how far can I go past that 5 or 10,000 round mark without changing out the parts, and do I see any malfunctions or issues? Do the springs weaken so much that the timing of the gun changes as a whole and I start to experience some issues? Those are things that I like to know. I also look at practicality and availability. So are OEM parts readily available? Because I do like to have extra recoil springs and extra firing pin springs, extractors, even a whole new firing pin assembly. Because if I have an issue, I would much rather just replace that part myself over possibly sending in that gun to the manufacturer like sometimes you do if you have a brand new pistol where OEM parts aren't available on the market yet. That's something I take into consideration. Also, are there a lot of companies making holsters for that particular firearm? Are there any good holsters out there? That's one reason why I like some holsters like the Filster Floodlight, because as long as you have your X300 on your pistol, it should fit in that holster, no problem. Also, when it comes to sights, are there sights readily available in case I want to change them out? Even possibly aftermarket parts. There's plenty of sights, holsters, and parts out there for the M&P, so that is something I do take into account. Features is something I consider as well. This gun has plenty of features. It has the new flat trigger, has an optic cut, has tall sights, which are metal and they're perfectly usable. So those are all good things that I do consider. I want to tell you what I don't consider now. I don't consider how the gun feels in my hand when I'm just holding it at the gun counter thinking about buying it. I want to know how that gun feels in my hand when I'm actually shooting it and running it hard. I will not consider YouTube videos where they bury the gun in sand and then shoot it and that gun has malfunctions. That's ridiculous. If you put enough sand or dirt into a gun, you're going to have malfunctions. So that's something that I don't consider. I also don't base my firearm choices on unreliable secondhand information. As an example, I will use the optic screws and optic plate on the M&P. Now, enough people said that they had screws break that I was a little bit concerned, but when I ended up getting the pistol, reading the manual, I realized why they were having those issues. They were using the screws that came with the Holosun, and you would only get 1 to 2 threads of engagement, so obviously those screws are going to snap right off under recoil. So that wasn't the optic plate's fault, the plastic optic plate. That was the wrong choice of screws or improper installation. So those are things that I don't consider. Now, before I go out and I actually test the firearm to see if it's worthy of being used as a defensive pistol, if it's a brand new gun or it's a used gun, I will break it down completely. If it's new, you're going to have plenty of factory grease, lubrication, and preservatives in there. You're supposed to clean all of that out. You want to get rid of all that, and you want to put your own lubrication on there. If it's a used gun, I would do the same thing. I'll break it down. I'll clean it very well before I lubricate it. I'll look at all the parts to make sure none of them are damaged. There's not excessive wear. And then I will go ahead and I will lubricate it, and I'll get ready for starting to test that actual pistol. I like to do the testing outside, so the gun's out in the elements. So I'm out there doing drills. I'm dropping magazines in the dirt. That's transferring dirt into the magazines and a little bit into the gun. It's not burying the gun in sand, but it's putting it in more of a realistic test. I want to run that gun hard and fast. I want to shoot it up close, and I want to shoot it from longer distance to see if that gun's actually hitting point of aim, point of impact. How does the zero shift as I transition from practice ammunition on to carry ammunition? Those are all things that I do consider. And I want to try to at least run a few hundred rounds through it that day. When ammunition was a lot cheaper, I would, shoot 500 or 600 rounds in a day. Now I don't do that unless I go to some type of class, but you want to at least try to put a few hundred rounds through that particular pistol. If it's, an established pistol like a Glock Gen 5, those have a pretty good reputation. If it's brand new, you really, don't need to do that much of a test. But since this is new to me, I want to test it and I want to see how it runs. After I get done with my testing, I take it home. I will completely break it down and I will examine it to see if there's any excessive wear, see if I have any broken parts, and just clean it thoroughly. Then I'll start doing a lot of dry fire, dry practice with it. A lot of guns can actually get damaged from doing dry practice. If you have something like a double single action gun that has maybe a firing pin retaining pin in there, those can actually damage when you're dry firing. So maybe use snap caps for that, but those are all things that I want to know, because if this is a carry pistol, I definitely want to dry fire it a lot because I want to do a lot of training with it, because I want to be efficient with it. I'll evaluate the performance, I'll look over it, I'll say, do I want to actually do any upgrades to this? This gun ran completely fine. The only upgrade I did to it was, actually I initially shot about 1,500 rounds through it with the plastic optic plate. I had no issues whatsoever. And a couple weeks ago, I got one of the metal C&H precision optic plates, and I've been doing some testing on that to see how it is. So that is the only upgrade I did to this pistol. I also did a complete trigger job on this. I did a lot of stoning and polishing and smoothing out. So now this trigger is very, very nice. This trigger is definitely below 3.5 pounds. It's a very nice trigger, and I'm very happy with it after I did a trigger job and it's been broken in. this is a nice trigger. There's no reason to even upgrade this trigger with how it is for me right now. But other than that, I put a light on it and the RMR is on it. That's about it. I'm still just doing some training, doing a lot of dry practice with it, and eventually I might switch over to this and it will take the place of my current carry gun, which is a Glock 17. That's just how I test the gun and how I would pick a gun out. Thought I might share with you guys, especially some of you new shooters. If you're getting a new pistol, just run some practice ammo through it, run some training ammo through it, you know, and then run your defensive loads and make sure everything is functioning and running accordingly. I know everyone can't go and spend a couple $100 on ammunition just to test out their pistol, so that's just how I do it. Thought I might share with you. If you guys have any questions, concerns, drop them below in a comment, and that would be it. Thanks, guys.